Welcome to the Monarch Football Show with Coach CJ Goss. I'm your host, John Donnelly. Saturday, the Monarchs overcome early mistakes and in double overtime beat the Battling Bishops of North Carolina Wesleyan College 42-39. Coach, your team struggled in the first half, but they stayed with the Bishops throughout the game. It took you double overtime to win off a field goal by Cody Osterman. Tell us about that game and what you were thinking as it was being played.
John, I have to say that this is probably one of the most rewarding games that I've been a part of as the head football coach here at Methodist University. The first thing is that, obviously, our kids overcame a lot of adversity. We go into a hostile environment. It's homecoming, injuries,
Right.
nickel and dime things throughout the week. And, we're faced with 4 minutes left to go in the game. We're down by 10, and we found a way to win the game. So again, it's very difficult to go into that environment. It's our second week in a row we're playing at a team's homecoming, which
Right.
gives us a whole lot of respect. But at the same time, I could not be more proud of getting a victory like that. 2 4-2 teams, both teams in the mix for a conference championship. And we were fortunate enough to pull it out in the end, so I'm real happy about that.
That's Now, Coach, this was only the second time all season that you've gone into the half down. The first time was at Guilford College. What did you say to the team to get them inspired to play in the second half, knowing that so much was on the line?
Well, I think that adversity struck in the first half. There was a series of unfortunate events. We were not executing up to our ability, and so my main goal was to refocus the team and for them to understand where we were and how important the second half was. And in order to do that, obviously we played some inspired football in the second half. We came out and they answered. Basically, what I did was I challenged the team, and with that comes, some choice words and, getting them to believe in the system that, you're genuinely in the mix and there's a lot going into it. And I think that, everything that was said was more than truthful. And I think that they reacted. It's the sign of a team that's maturing. Most teams, you either fold under pressure or, you rise to the occasion. There's no doubt in my mind that I've seen this young Monarch team mature, and now we've risen to the occasion. And when they get challenged, they face that adversity head on. And it makes me really proud to see and to know that, as the head football coach, I can motivate a team to go out and play a second half and hang in there and never quit.
Absolutely. Now, this is the second time this season, I believe, that you've been in a double overtime game. How are you holding up? I mean, that's got to be some cardiac pressure for you, when you see the team struggle like that. And obviously the offense didn't move as well as it had in past weeks. The defense played a pretty good game, but it took you 5 field goals in order to secure victory. What do you tell the team offensively when they're coming back from the huddle and the sidelines after they've executed plays and they can't really move the ball down the field?
Well, it's patience. I think that we've been spoiled at Methodist University in the fact that every time Max Reaver and the rest of the crew has the ball in their hands, we expect to score every time. Having put 70-plus points on the game before, we lose that patience when we don't have that success. And so, the biggest thing is, do the little things, the fundamentals. It's not the 60-yard touchdowns. It's the 6, 10-yard catches that are going to lead to the 60 yards worth. That end up in the touchdown. And so it's putting the pieces together and not pressing so much. But when it was time for the offense to step up, they did. And again, it's I think I take nothing away from North Carolina Wesleyan. They jumped to a little bit of a lead, and we were playing catch up the majority of the game. And then they really they chewed a lot of clock. It's a test of their coaching staff. They kept our offense off the field, and they ran the football and they lined up in formations that were going to keep that clock going, and they cut down our offensive production just by chewing the clock. And we're on the opposite side. We're going to get the ball in our hands, and we want first downs and touchdowns, every series. And when that doesn't happen, you have to be strategic, as an offensive, minded coach, going in with now it's time to put it together and let's be patient. I think sometimes when a team's chewing clock on you, people start to press a little bit more, like, almost a panic. And I think once we calmed down and we realized what we were capable of, that the result, took care of itself.
Okay. We're going to go over the game and all the footage when we come back from break.
My name is BJ Mentor. My major is organizational communication and I have a minor in leadership studies. I have a very strong faith and I knew no matter where I went, I knew I was going to be successful because I knew who I am as a leader, as a person, and who I want to be in the future. You're here to graduate and earn a career. You want to set yourself up and you want to set yourself apart from other people so you can have a long-lasting career that's going to help you in your lifetime. I came in with an open mind, trying to figure out where I want to be in my life, how I want to affect other people's lives, and what legacy I want to leave. I became the president of my own committee, which I never thought I would do. And that's how you make a strong institution, is the people that are in the school. And that's why I like Methodist in the first place, because I made good connections with the faculty and staff. I love our coaching staff. The friendships I made here, they will last for a lifetime.
Coach, your team starts off behind early after giving up a safety on a punt, and they give up a touchdown, and they trail 9-0. Tell us about what was going through your mind at that point.
Well, you never plan to be down. We've had a season for the most part of being up in the game, and so, we've got to dig ourselves out of a hole early, and, luckily our offense answers.
And Methodist gets their first score of the game with a 14-yard pass from Max Reber to Pat Jacobs. And, Coach, early on, what kind of game did you think it would be?
Well, being down 9-0 and answering, with a score, obviously it was going to be a long day, and, we were going to have to be on our game 100% in order to have success in this game.
Another Wesleyan touchdown, Methodist kicker Cody Osherman would get his first of 5 field goals with a 29-yard kick, and the score was 16-10. Wesleyan continued to play well and put up 10 more points before the half. Methodist would make another stop on Wesleyan's next possession. The Monarchs would have the last drive, and with 5 seconds remaining in the first half, Max Reber would find Dedrick Bowman on a 15-yard pass, and we go into the halftime with the score 26-16. Being down 10 points at that time, what did you say to the team?
Well, I think that, the score before the half was really, really important, and it gave us a little bit of momentum into halftime. Obviously, you're down, but I think that, it gave us something to work on, and, obviously, what was said at halftime, got us firing on all cylinders leading in, coming out at the half.
And welcome back. We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about one of our charitable things that we do here at Methodist University. We have a charity called Pennies for Puppies. Coach, why don't you explain to us what that is and tell us how that works?
Well, before the season set out, really about last January, we wanted to find an organization that, we believed in as not only a staff, but, something that would benefit us, as far as, being better, out there in the public in a non-football sense. And so what we've come up with is we've been working with the Humane Society, and what we're doing is we're collecting donations to help out with one of the charitable places that we can donate our money to, and we have yet to decide that. We've also had, the Hope County Animal Shelter has brought animals out to our game, rescue animals. And we've had several adopted at our game. So at every game that the Monarchs play, there are dogs outside, up for adoption, people collecting, pennies for puppies, we call it, and, we're just collecting loose change. And, right now we've raised over $700, and, we've had upward, 9+ dogs adopted at our game. So, that's something we set out to do, something, myself and the staff is very proud of. And, again, we're going to keep moving forward, and hopefully we have a really attractive check at the very end so that we have something that we can make better with. So I'm excited, and certainly moving forward we're going to continue to keep the momentum going with our donations.
All right, that sounds like a great charity, and I'm absolutely sure that the Hope County Animal Shelter appreciates all the work that the Monarchs have done to this point. Don't go anywhere. We'll come right back. John Papillon will score a 7-yard run, pulling the Monarchs within 3 points on the Bishops. And on the next possession, Methodist would score again on a 41-yard field goal from Cody Osherman, and that would tie the game 26-26.
It's Cody having a good day, and again, we're going back and forth, and our job was to try and take that lead, and again, it seemed like we were battling from behind all game long.
Punt return by Jordan Porter would be muffed, and it would give the ball back to Wesleyan.
It not only gave Wesleyan back the ball, but it gave them a head of steam, going into, the finale of the game. Crucial mistake, by a freshman, but, luckily we dug ourselves out, and, we didn't let it affect us too much.
Now, early in the fourth quarter, Wesleyan will score again on the 33-yard field goal, and that will put them up by 10 and make the score 36-26.
I think that at this time, I'm a little nervous because I knew this was a team that had the ability to chew clock, and that was their exact game plan. Down by 10, and they were going to control the clock to try and keep our offense off the field.
Methodist is down late in the fourth by 10 points, but Valdani Bastine would score with 1:53 left in the game and put the Monarchs down by 3.
Huge score, and I think that, again, a momentum changer, and, this is where the players are believing. We're down by 3, and now we need something, kind of magical to happen to us.
Okay, so the Monarchs attempt an onside kick, but we didn't recover. The Methodist defense, however, would stop the Bishops on a 3-and-out, forcing Wesleyan to punt. And Methodist would get the ball back with 43 seconds. And after an unsportsmanlike penalty on the Bishops, the Monarchs would get the ball on their own 45, driving into Wesleyan territory and setting up Cody Osherman for a 43-yard field goal, and he would connect on that and put the game into overtime for the first overtime.
Well, I think the Bishops made a huge mistake. They gave us an additional 15 yards, and we're down by a field goal. And, it's at that time that, their youth hurt them, and our maturity and our older, more mature football players, put us on the board one more time to force overtime.
The first overtime, you get the ball first, but you fail to score a touchdown, and you settle for a field goal. And with the stop on the defense, forcing the Bishops for a field goal, and it would send the game into the second overtime.
Well, we've been there before, and, it's certainly it's something we have experience at, and so it was time for the second overtime.
Now, this sets Methodist up for Cody Osherman's 5th and final field goal. He connects, and it puts the Monarchs up by 3, and we have a final score of 42-39, and that'll be the ball game. Now, Coach, after you come out of there with the win, what is your thoughts?
I was very excited because with 4 minutes left to go in the game, we were down by 10. We go through an overtime. We go through the first overtime, make it through, still tied. And then, we make a couple key plays, and Cody Osterman, a senior, makes a senior play enough to win us the game. It was a huge win for us, and, it really kind of stamped, our ticket as far as moving forward on the season.
1st and 10 from the 17.
Welcome back, and we're at our Inside the Playbook with Coach Goss. And, Coach, what do you have drawn up on the whiteboard for us here this week?
Well, this was certainly a pivotal play that happened, in the game. What happened was Danny Bastian ended up scoring a touchdown, but not necessarily by design. This has been kind of how things have gone through the season. And what happened was North Carolina Wesleyan was doing a great job of pretty much bracketing and having one more defender than each one of our receivers. On each side, they had a corner, and they were bringing their linebackers outside, and obviously they had safeties over the top on both sides. And so there was basically 3 guys over 2. And what happened was, we ran our run play, or pass play, I should say, and what we were looking to do is we were going through there, and in comes our pass play. Well, something that you factor in is, obviously you're looking to get, your protection and everything squared away. The one thing that most teams don't do is they don't factor in the Max Reber effect. And so what happened was, we go through, and North Carolina Wesleyan did a great job of defending and taking away all of our pass plays.
Right.
Well, what happens is Max Reber is fortunate enough to step into the open gap in here. And what we work every week is called a scramble drill. And this is just good old-fashioned. The routes aren't there. All of a sudden, these receivers are going to look back. They're going to get their eyes back to the quarterback, and they're going to see and get on the same page as Max Reber. Well, Danny Bastian's right here. He's our outside receiver, and the minute he sees Max Reber step up, he immediately converts towards the end zone. Well, the one thing I'll tell you is that if you don't contain Max Reber, what's going to happen? It's an awfully long time for those defensive backs to cover.
Right.
And so they all convert. And what happens is he finds, one of 2 receivers in Danny Bastian for the score, setting up, obviously, us taking the lead. And, I couldn't be prouder. Danny Bastian has been a very consistent receiver, has done an unbelievable job, and just another one of many receivers being on the same page as Max Reber. It couldn't have been scripted any different at that point in the game.
Absolutely. And welcome back to Inside the Playbook with Coach Goss. Coach, what play do we have up now?
Well, it's a pivotal point in the game, and the fact that, we made a mistake by muffing a punt where North Carolina Wesleyan, recovered it. So they had a short field to deal with. Then they marched down, and, they're marching in on our front porch. And, fortunately for us, they call a pass play. And, I think that we locked it down in the end zone. And what North Carolina Wesleyan was doing is they were running the ball effectively. Their tailback, obviously, one of the best players that we will face this year. Mm-hmm. But what they did is they ran what I would call a play-action boot. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the whole defense going in one direction. And so what they're doing is they're run faking, okay? So we have everybody going in one direction. Obviously, their line is moving in one direction. And what's happening is they're trying to get, once again, our linebackers and our defense to flow one way so that they can go back against the grain. Right. Well, what they do is, obviously they're going to block down and they're going to check and they're going to carry, so that the quarterback can make his fake on the tailback and then get to the edge. One of our adjustments was we were going to bring our edge pressure and level out. So the key to this whole thing is getting that quarterback to kind of pull up and stop his momentum on the bootleg. Mm-hmm. Well, what they did was they tried to take their one receiver all the way across the formation. Well, fortunately for us, we were in man coverage, okay? We were locked up 1-for-1, and that's where Shaheem Simpson, who did a great job all day of locking up their receivers, and, he was kind of one of our adjusters. But, he kept his inside leverage, ends up in a chase mode, and as we got this quarterback to pull up his momentum, what happened was he underthrew, his receiver a little bit where Shy undercut it. And at that point, all we could do is tell Shy to get down, get down, get down. But Shy made a great play, had a great day. And, I couldn't be happier to see, one of our corners coached by Derek Williams, coming of age. And, there's no doubt that we've been very young in, at the corner position, but I really think those guys are coming on, and I couldn't be prouder to, be able to have a couple interceptions on the day. We were due.
Right, and you absolutely needed them at that point to make sure that you stayed in the game. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
My name is Patrick Jacobs. I'm a double major here at Methodist University with Spanish and athletic training. I also play football. It's brotherhood in every sense of the word. We're there for each other no matter what. And the special thing is the chemistry we have off of the field as well as on the field, which I think is a huge factor as to why we won the conference championship last year. The general medicine rotation I'm in now is sort of a different experience because it's for people who can't really afford health care. It's the care clinic. My goals when I was studying abroad were to, one, increase my fluency in the language, and two, develop a better understanding of the Spanish culture. I wanted to continue my studies in Spanish, and it ended up being a great decision.
The Monarchs are currently 5-2 and 4-1 in conference play. And at this point in the season, we like to go over with Coach Goss the state of the conference because it's kind of topsy-turvy right now, Coach, right? We started off with a 5-way tie, and now we're at a 3-way tie. Explain basically what's happening in the conference from week to week.
Well, there's a lot going on. Going into this past weekend, we had our one loss against Christopher Newport. Christopher Newport that next week went and lost to Huntington College. Christopher Newport all have one loss. We played North Carolina Wesleyan this past weekend, who also had one loss in conference to Christopher Newport. And there's one more team that's in the mix, Maryville, who had one loss to Huntington. So we have a whole mix of different teams who have all kind of one against one and beaten the other. Where we're at right now is Huntington College had lost to LaGrange College, which was a shocker in my eyes. It's a team that we had put 70 points against, and Huntington, to me, was by far certainly one of the better teams in the conference. Christopher Newport still has a tough road ahead of them in the fact that they've lost to Huntington and they still have to play Maryville College. And then, their season concludes. Christopher Newport, to a certain extent, if they win out, is in the driver's seat because they do have the one win against us, and if it came to a head-to-head, we're certainly at a disadvantage there. But they still have to play a Maryville team that certainly can beat Christopher Newport, to which Maryville would be the champion. So there is still, we said before the season started that anything can happen in the USA South. It's anybody's game. I'm certainly excited that we're still in the mix, and I think we control our own destiny. We have to win one game at a time, and we're going to take it one game at a time with Averett coming up. But we've yet to play Maryville College, and we still have to play Ferrum College. So it could come down to a season finale with Maryville College, possibly here in Monarch Stadium, to see who goes for the championship if Maryville wins out. So it's certainly exciting, and I'm excited to see what the USA South holds in store for us.
Now, obviously, if we don't win out, it might be a bit disappointing, no playoffs. But if we do win out, what would be ahead for us in the playoffs?
Well, I think that, the USA South, being that, you're dealing with a two-loss team, you're obviously going to play one of the tougher teams, one of the higher-seeded teams in the NCAAs. And whoever goes to the playoffs from the USA South Conference is going to have an uphill battle going there. So it's going to be a tough matchup, in that first round. But anything can play out in any one of these other conferences too, and I think distance plays a factor. So whoever it is that goes, hopefully it's the Monarchs, but whoever goes to the playoffs is certainly they get that opportunity, and they're going to have to do a little bit of traveling.
All right, and that was very insightful from Coach Goss. I don't know how he keeps it straight from week to week, but I guess that's one of the things that makes him successful. We'll be back after this. And welcome back. Now, Coach, before we wrap up, some final thoughts on this past Saturday's game.
Well, I think that 2 4-2 teams, one after each other, and it was a huge game for both teams. I think it gives us a good idea of where we are in the conference, where we are as a team and what we have the ability to do. And, I think that as adversity strikes for the last couple games, when adversity strikes, I think that, we've now shown that we can overcome that adversity. If a team does jump a lead on us, which, obviously I hope that they don't, but if they do, that, there's no quitting us. And it's that lack of, it's that lack of effort, that will get you in the end, where guys start to second guess themselves. I don't think for 1 second this team that we have here, is second guesses themselves. I think they know what they're capable of. They know, where the production goes and who the producers are and who's going to have the ball in their hands and who's going to make the big plays. And I think it's a whole slew of different guys. So I think that it was a good test. I'm proud of where we are. I'm proud that we're still in a hunt, for a conference champion. And I think, the result will take care of itself. We're going to go one game at a time. But having beaten North Carolina Wesleyan, that is a very, very good football team, very well coached. They have one of the top tailbacks in the nation. We did enough to contain him, and I think that, on both sides of the football, we made adjustments to, negate some of their strengths. So, we walk away from this a better football team, even though it's double overtime, win. Obviously, we want to win the games, not in double overtime. But I think that, we've learned a lot from that game, and I'm ready to take that into the final games and see how the season plays out.
Now, Coach, for the third week in a row, you're going to play a homecoming game. This time it's our homecoming, fortunately. Tough opponent coming in this weekend, Averett University. Always been a tough draw for us over the years. What are your thoughts about them, and what are your thoughts about us?
Well, I think, the first thing I want to say is home sweet home. I'm glad to finally come home for homecoming. I think that, going through and being on the road and seeing these other schools' homecomings, we're going to have the best homecoming here. And, as far as Averett University, very good football team, very, well coached, very young, very dangerous in many aspects. So, my biggest fear is that, they're taken lightly and all the distractions. There are two things that really concern me. One, it's homecoming, which is a coach's nightmare. The second thing is Halloween. The Monarchs traditionally have not played great in and around Halloween, and so that's just, there's a couple hurdles that go on. Our approach on going into the week is, put our blinders on, let's get to work. And I would like to say that, having gone through the adversity we went through last game, and I have a pretty focused team, and I'm proud to be a head football coach of a group of guys that can't be distracted by homecoming. They're not going to be distracted by Halloween. They're not going to be distracted by all the little things. I think that they're really focused. And going into Averett, Averett's got, nothing to lose going into this game. And I think, it's my job to help them realize that, this is one of those games where out come the trick plays and the multiple blitzes and the different chances that a coach is willing to take to get the momentum back on his side. And I believe that's what Averett's going to try and do against us, to try and neutralize, where we might have a strength or two over them. They're a very good football team, and, we're certainly not going to take them lightly. I'm looking forward to homecoming. I'm looking forward to see how our players have reacted. I'm looking forward to, how we're going to react having come off a double overtime loss, or win, where a game that we could have lost at any given time. So I'm excited to see, what lies ahead, and it'll certainly be a very good game.
And come out November 1st at 1 p.m. as we take on the Cougars of Averett University. This has been the Monarch Football Show. I'm John Donnelly. Have a good night.